You know what? I'm sorry. I fucked this up. Let's just start our preview show because this all ties together. It all blends. It's a conspiracy theory. It's not.
Yeah, as if we got enough of those.
Honestly. We're not even going to get into that. No. But Michael Chandler, everyone was giving him a lot of shit online saying that he should have taken this fight versus RDA. So even RDA called him out. We all thought this was going to happen. It didn't happen. It's Paul Felder. We'll get into that. But Michael Chandler, you got called fucking soft by RDA essentially on Twitter. He pretty much came out and said, you can't come into the UFC and say you have other plans. Like, I got the championship belt because I fought everyone that was in front of me. Shame on you. And I'm not going to lie, Mason. I agree 100%. Dude, this was your opportunity. And then he came out and said, I can't make weight this quick. We kind of talked about it earlier in MMA news. What are your thoughts? Like, should have that been the main event?
No, and I'll tell you why. First and foremost, Paul Felder, we all know that's breaking. It's not really breaking news anymore, but great on him. We'll talk about that in a second. Let's stay on Michael Chandler.
Yeah.
Michael Chandler came out and said, dude, and I didn't even think about this. When we were talking about it Sunday night, I didn't even think about it. Didn't even cross my mind. Want to know why? Because I'm not a fucking fighter. But he goes, hey, I just made weight for this card, and obviously, he didn't fight, but he was the backup fighter. He goes, I can't make weight again. I got to be honest with him. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
We saw how debilitating that was for Tony Ferguson when he made weight twice.
Great fucking point.
So, when Michael Chandler came out and said that, I go, you know what? That makes complete and utter sense. And
Absolutely.
I wouldn't want him to drain his body twice. And then for Michael Chandler's first performance in the UFC to go out there and gas in the second round, it would be so detrimental to his career in the UFC.
Unranked, have to work his way back up. It would be terrible for him.
It would be terrible. So when Michael Chandler said that, I said, absolutely okay. Second point I want to make on this. I think Chandler, as we had talked about earlier, is setting up for this Tony Ferguson fight. I think Tony will eventually sign this. That's the fight everyone wants to see. That's where we're really going to see where Michael Chandler is going to be. And I watched
100%.
this video, and it was very interesting to me that Michael Chandler did that. I don't remember what podcast, but he was on doing this video for someone, and he was ranking the lightweight division in the top 10, right? He put Tony Ferguson number 4.
Ooh,
Now,
interesting.
Yeah, very interesting.
Who was above him?
I want to say it was Connor, Gaethje, and Dustin were all in front of him. Fascinating to me. I'll tell you why. I think Tony Ferguson is top 2. I don't think Chandler necessarily... obviously, it's Michael Chandler. He's a professional fighter. He's not scared of anyone. But I think when you look at a guy like Tony Ferguson, he is the most dangerous opponent for a guy like Chandler. Mm-hmm. He really is. I mean, with his jiu-jitsu skills and if Chandler were to take him down, that's not a guy. And not a guy you can get out of there easily either. He's not going to be a guy to just tap, like Connor or whatever. So I think he was looking at that. So I like that matchup. I like that matchup for Michael Chandler, and I was totally on board, and I totally understand why he did not take this fight with RDA on short notice.
Yeah.
Making weight twice like that is just too hard.
Yeah, absolutely agree with everything you just said. But you know what? It opened the door for one of my favorite fighters, my favorite commentator, the fucking Irish Dragon himself, Paul Felder. Stepped in on what, like 5 or 6 days notice?
Paul is just
a beast, dude. Just a savage. Just a man amongst
incredible.
boys.
He's incredible. He is one of the greatest of all time, man. Obviously career-wise, but just a human being. The guy to just step up on short notice and say, yeah, I'm going to take this fight. Because originally, after he lost his last fight, he was talking about the potential of retiring. And we thought, hey, we might not see Paul Felder ever again. Paul Felder did an interview again with Ariel Helwani. He started talking about it, and he was like, hey, I didn't like that. I didn't like losing. And he goes, I want to get that taste out of my mouth. He goes, taking this RDA fight makes sense to me. And we got to talk about this because Paul also was very open and honest, which is something I appreciate so much about him. He's got such a lucrative career as a commentator in the UFC, but he talked about retirement and the possibility. He says it drastically increases with a win over RDA. What are your thoughts on that?
Wow, that's like the exact opposite of what I was thinking he'd come in and say.
I know.
Because you'd think a win over RDA would spark that inspiration to maybe go for that one last title shot, because I really do think Paul Felder is still in the mix. What was he when he last lost? I mean, what is he right now ranked? I think he's like 7 or 6.
6 or 7.
It doesn't matter. You're a top 5 lightweight or top 10 lightweight. At any moment, anybody can fight for an interim championship belt in this division. We've seen it. things are rolling. And Paul Felder, I mean, I hope he doesn't retire because he really is one of my favorite guys. But at the same time, I'm not going to tell him, hey, man, get back in there and take more damage.
Yeah.
Because that Dan Hooker fight was fucking rough.
It was a rough fight, and it was such a close fight, too. You know, he had wins over James Vick and Edson Barbosa before losing that very close fight to Dan Hooker.
Yeah, a fight that I thought he won. I mean, at the time, I really thought Dan Hooker won it, but it was so close. You watch that fight back, I definitely thought Paul Felder won it, and it was still a fight of the year contender.
It was, absolutely. I think in any other year, if we didn't have that Joanna Weili Zhang fight, I think any other year, that fight would have been fight of the year. I really do.
Could you imagine being Dan Hooker? Because essentially you have back-to-back fight of the year contenders, and you're on the... At least you won one of them, bro.
Yeah.
So that's always good. But back to Paul. Paul versus RDA. This is a very interesting matchup, and this is a great fight on the feet, I think. And I think that's where it's staying. I mean, they're just going to stand and bang for 5 rounds, essentially. To still be a 5-round fight on 5 days' notice, and to still be at 155, this is the number 5 fight.
Well, and here's the thing, too. This is something we know about Paul Felder. If Paul Felder takes a fight, you know he's damn well ready. And he was just talking about how he has been training for this triathlon for months. He got on the scale.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah,
so he might have a fucking,
a gas tank.
A gas tank for days.
Well, and this is something else I wanted to bring up, too. This fight is still a 5-round main event. Now, typically, if a fighter were to take a fight on short notice, you know, the UFC would work with them a little bit, make it a 3-round because, you know, you're taking a fight on 4 days. 5 rounds is a hell of a lot different than, you know, that's the difference between, obviously, 10 full minutes. So, anyway, with Paul Felder, he was training a triathlon. I think he's going to be in shape, ready. He said he got on the scale. He felt fine. You know, he wouldn't disclose how much he weighed. So my guess is he probably weighs about 168. So if he's cutting a good 13 to 15 pounds, I think he'll be ready to go, man. And Paul wouldn't sign on the dotted line unless he wasn't. He's a fucking professional, and that's what we love about Paul Felder, man.
Yeah, absolute professional. Best in the game. It's just crazy, man, because 5 days notice to make 155 pounds. I hope everything you just said is correct, because that's even 18 pounds in 5 days. Like, that's a lot.
Oh, it is.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's probably going to be a decent cut. I mean, I'm sure there's way worse cuts. Like, if Mike Perry's been on social media eating ice cream, talking about, I got a fucking 25-pound cut in 9 days, but I don't give a fuck. I'm eating brownies and shit. It's like, who knows?
Yeah, that might be a little case of CTE or something.
Oh, man, dude, he's going.
He's wild, man.
We should have brought that up in MMA news, but, you know, this is all about Paul and RDA. So let's talk about the fight. To be honest, I don't know who you really give the advantage to on the feet. This is a rough fight for both men, dude. Paul is a fucking savage. He's just, one of these guys that probably should be fighting at 170. Both of these guys are 165ers. Let's be real. Both of these guys have taken fights at 170. You know, Paul broke his arm in the first round against Mike Perry in a fight he still almost won. So he could have had a run after that. RDA, former number 1 contender in the welterweight division. Can't forget that. Former lightweight champion. I don't even know who the hell I'm going to pick yet. I mean, I wrote something down, but it's like I keep flipping back and forth. I just think it's going to be a 5-round war, man. I have no idea who's going to really have the clear advantage.
I do. Let me tell you this, man. Paul was also talking about how, you know, he has been training, he has been, you know, preparing, he has been sparring, but he said it's so much less damage he's accumulated because obviously he didn't know he was going to take this fight. I think Paul Felder is going to be fresh. I think we are going to see a extremely aggressive and smart Paul Felder. I am behind this hype train right now. There is a reason this man is taking this fight on such short notice against a legend like RDA. I really believe Paul Felder believes he's going to go out there and dominate, man. And yeah, he said he was a little nervous, of course. And people give a shit. Fight. People give a shit because we say that, you know, fighters get nervous. Well, fucking obviously, you're going in there, you're either going to kill or be killed. So yeah, of course you're going to be nervous. But man, I'm telling you, Paul Felder shines when anyone counts him out, man. I'm telling you. So I think Paul Felder is going to be dominant in this fight, and I think he's going to shock the world. I really do. I am going to pick Paul Felder, 4th round TKO.
Wow, a finish.
A finish. Paul Felder is going to finish Rafael Dos Anjos.
Wow, that's something nobody's done in the last few years.
Nope.
That's going to be like, why retire?
I'm going with that. Okay, so here's my theory, right? Paul Felder throws out the whole retirement thing. But if he goes out there, right, training for a triathlon, he's got a gas tank for days. He goes out there and puts on extremely well fight, right? Well done fight. Dominant in every aspect. Dana White's going to give him a shot. You want to know why? Because Paul Felder is a yes man.
A shot? A title shot?
No. I'm not talking a title shot. I'm talking top contender. No. I'm talking about a real potential to take one more fight, maybe two, but one more fight before you're completely in the mix, ready to go. But I think he'll give him someone high. Like, seriously.
Like Justin Gaethje?
Or either Justin
Tony
Gaethje
Ferguson?
or Tony Ferguson. That's my mind.
Ooh.
If that Chandler fight doesn't end up happening, because obviously you're not going to rematch Tony Ferguson and Justin Gaethje. They just fought, right? So maybe Tony Ferguson fights a guy like Paul Felder coming off that win. It's a possibility.
I love that because that's a fight I was calling for months ago.
Right. And it's a fight everyone would like to see, too.
Yeah.
I mean, how would you not want to see that fight?
Absolutely.
So it is very interesting for Paul Felder. I think he's kind of using this as a bargaining chip a little bit. Because if he goes out there and decisively beats RDA, come on, man. Come on. We got to, and if he doesn't, quote unquote, retire, we got to throw him to the wolves, man. We got to give him a Tony Ferguson, get him back in line, because for a guy to save a main event, for a guy to save this card, I mean, come on.
You got to reward him. You got to reward your yes man.
And no disrespect to Alassane or Williams, but they are not your main event. Mm-hmm. They are not your main event. Mm-hmm. Julian Marquez and Safarov is not your main event.
There's no one on this list that I would put as a main event.
No, not in a million years. Not in a million years. And no disrespect to any of those fighters. They could potentially work their way up to that.
One day.
I mean, no disrespect. But right now, no way in hell.
Yeah.
No one would tune in. Not a single casual would. But you throw in a guy like RDA and Paul Felder, the Irish Dragon, people are tuning into that. I'm stoked for it. I can't freaking wait for this weekend.
Yeah, well, I'm interested in this because, like you just said, if without that main event, this card is trash. 100% agree. But with this main event, this card is fucking stacked. Al Hassan, which it's a mind fuck. Yeah, I know. It probably makes zero sense.
No, it doesn't. It's hypocritical or it's back, but still,
it's the truth though. This is a ridiculous card. Look, their average loss is like 3 losses, 1 loss, 3 losses, 3 losses, 3 losses, 2
losses. It could definitely be a sleeper card.
This is a fucking sleeper card. Not a lot of names, nobody knows, but there's really good records and freaking fantastic talent on this card. So everyone's, start to finish, watch the whole thing because they're great fights, and I can't wait for this main. I got to pick this main event. We got to move on from this.
Yeah.
Paul Felder, unanimous decision.
Nice.
It's just such a hard fight for me to pick, dude. I have really no idea what's going to happen. I hope you're right. I really hope you're right because I am a huge fan of Paul Felder. But at the same time, I'd kind of feel for RDA because the man is not done well these last few years. I mean, other than the Kevin Lee fight, I mean, that's about it. That's about it for him. I mean, but at the same time, he's fighting the best of the best.
He is.
So I guess we're going to find out if Paul Felder is that. And I can't wait.
I cannot wait either.